Chapter 12 is about historical linguistics, also called comparative linguistics. It's the study of how languages change over time and the relationship among different languages. One of the facts of historical linguistics is that languages can be highly related to each other, minimally related, or not related at all. One of the reasons that languages are highly related is that they derive from the same parental language and are called a language family. In fact, languages that derive from a common language are called daughter languages. For instance, Portuguese, Spanish, Catalan, French, Italian, and Romanian are all daughter languages derived from Latin, as it mixed with the native languages of each area. Linguists classify all of these languages as Latin languages, or Romance, i.e. Roman languages. On the other hand, Icelandic, Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, English, Dutch, German, Yiddish are Germanic languages. Linguists show language relatedness in two main ways: the family tree model and the wave model. The family tree model of language relationships was devised by August Schleicher in 1861. As you can see, this model starts out at the top with a language called a proto-language, that's the parent language, from which many ancestral and modern languages were derived. The prefix proto means before, and a proto-language is a reconstructed language, and therefore a hypothetical language, as opposed to an observed language. The proto-language in the diagram is Proto-Indo-European. Its descendant languages are the Indo-European languages. Sir William Jones, who lived from 1746 to 1794, was the first person to formally describe the similarities among a number of languages. In 1786, Jones, a British Supreme Court judge in India, published a book that provided comparative evidence that Sanskrit, an ancient language of India, was related to Latin and Greek. He also believed that Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek might be related to Gothic, Celtic, and Persian. His work was the first indication that there was a common mother language, Proto-Indo-European, for the Indian and European languages. Jones noticed that many words in these languages that had the same meaning were very similar phonemically. Such word pairs or sets are called cognates. Jones assumed that the cognates were similar because they derived from the same parental language. He assumed this because the sound of a word has an arbitrary relationship to what it means. If sound and meaning were intrinsically related to each other, then words with the same meaning would have the same sound in all languages. This is not the case. Therefore, similarity in sound and meaning must be the result of a common origin. Jones's conclusions were based on his knowledge of ancient and modern languages and his intuition about their relatedness. The Danish researcher Rasmus Rask, who lived from 1787 to 1832, built on Jones's conclusion by formally outlining some of the regularities in sound differences in certain languages. For instance, he noticed that certain sounds in Greek regularly correspond to different sounds in the Germanic languages. For example, the Greek PH sound, as in frater and pharaoh, consistently become B in English, brother and bear, and in German, der Bruder, der Bar. Jakob Grimm, the German linguist and collector of fairy tales, who lived from 1785 to 1863, expanded on Rask's work on the regularity of sound differences. The conclusion made by Grimm is known as Grimm's law, or the first Germanic sound shift. In addition to providing the first in-depth study of a sound shift from a mother language to a daughter language, Grimm introduced a rigorous methodology for comparative studies that greatly influenced the growth of historical linguistics. English is one of the Germanic languages. Grimm discovered that the p, t, and k of Proto-Indo-European systematically changed to f, th, and h in English. B, d, and g, which are the voiced stops, become the voiceless stops p, t, and k. Grimm's law provides an example of an unconditioned sound change, a sound change that happened spontaneously and everywhere in the language. So, for example, everywhere that there was a b in Proto-Indo-European, there is now a p in English and other Germanic languages. Another example of an unconditioned sound change is referred to as the Great Vowel Shift, which occurred in English between about 1400, when Middle English was spoken, and 1700, when Modern English was spoken. The Great Vowel Shift altered the pronunciation of all Middle English long vowels. For instance, hus became house, wief became wife, nama became name. On the other hand, a conditioned sound change depends on the phonetic environment. For instance, the f sound in Old English became the v sound in Modern English. But the change only occurred if the f is between two vowels. For example, the Old English word heophonem became the modern word heavens. Ephel became evil, and aphen became even, as in evening. The silent E at the end of English words is another example of a conditioned sound change. At the conclusion of the Middle English period, around 1400, the unstressed schwa sounds, at the end of words, which had previously been pronounced, were deleted from the pronunciation but kept in the spelling. The deletion of the unstressed schwa sound is a conditioned sound change because it didn't occur everywhere in the language, just in the word final position.